Some people call it nature's nectar. We're talking about honey, and eating locally produced honey has some health benefits too. In the kitchen to talk about that, beekeeper Ned Peresich and Nancy Freeman from Farm Families of Mississippi, who also will have some recipes you can make with honey. And it's great to have you both in the studio today. And I want to start with Ned, because this is fascinating. First of all, beekeepers. You've been in that business for quite a while?
Yeah, since 1972.
And what are some of the differences you can have as far as health is concerned?
Well, the local honeys will inoculate you to the local allergens and from eating the pollen that's in the honey, which you won't get in the supermarket honeys because they filter it and process it. But
so if you're going to use honey and you like honey, you ought to buy local honey.
you should buy local honey.
Okay, great. Well, Nancy, what are you doing with honey today?
I've got a couple of easy recipes. One of the things I think people like is honey mustard. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's very easy to take with a base of a little bit of mayo, and then we're just going to add some mustard to this. That looks about right. And then we're going to add, of course, some honey to this particular dish.
So mayo, mustard, and honey?
Mayo, mustard, honey, and then the kicker in the end is a little cayenne pepper.
Ooh, sounds
which gives
good.
it a nice little tasty kick. And the cayenne pepper, I usually use about, for this amount that I'm making, about a half a teaspoon. You can adjust it up and down, and depending on how much bite you like to it. And it really blends well, and I like to keep this made up. You can keep it in the refrigerator ready to go. It makes a great flavoring. I put it in all kinds of salads. Ned and I were talking earlier about, you know, dressings for salads themselves, or flavorings on a sandwich. But if you let it refrigerate a little bit, the flavors really do begin to blend, and it's just adds so much nice to a sandwich. I mean, instead of just having the plain old mayonnaise and mustard on there, why not have some delicious honey mustard? And it's quick and simple and easy to make with things that you've got around your house.
That looks delicious, and you can just leave that in the refrigerator.
You can.
And it just gets better and better.
It does, and it's ready to go, and it doesn't go bad, so it's easy to use. Another thing that I did with honey is I made a cake with it. This is a spice cake, and a lot of times people say, well, I don't know how to cook with honey. Honey is very easy to work with. You can mix it equal amounts, cup for cup. The thing you have to know is that if you're substituting a cup or more of honey in the recipe, you're going to have to reduce the liquids by about 1/4 cup, and you're going to have to add a couple extra tablespoons of flour in there to help to adjust with it. It works best in a recipe like this. This is my spice cake recipe that I like. It's got carrots, pineapple, and walnuts in it.
Yum.
It's got 1.5 cups of honey in the recipe. It's a heavy cake, much as you would imagine a spice cake would be.
That looks yummy, Nancy.
It's delicious. It's got nutmeg and it's got cinnamon in it and ginger as well. It's quite flavorful to it. It's a moist cake, and if you're using a recipe that has sugar that's used for the to make it creamier or to hold the air to make it lighter, you might not can use honey as much in there. You may have to use half honey, half sugar.
Okay.
But it works very well in a lot of different recipes.
Well, good. And Ned, where can people find local honey? I mean, I see it here and there at markets and whatnot, but
At your local farm supplies or some of the local small markets.
That's great. How tricky is it being in the beekeeping business? I guess you know what you're doing, so it's not too hard for you. You've
well,
been doing
it is tricky, but we're having a lot of problems with different pests nowadays, but it's a good business to be in.
Do you ever get worried about being around those bees all day?
Oh, yes, I do. I'm allergic to the bees.
Are you? How in the world does someone allergic become a beekeeper?
You carry an EpiPen with you everywhere. Yeah.
My goodness, that's dedication, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ned, for joining us and sharing this information with us. I'll have to try out some of your honey sometime.
Okay.
And Nancy, thank you for sharing those recipes.
My pleasure. They can find them here at
Families
WLOX.
of Mississippi.
They can find it here at WLOX.com or at the growingmississippi.org website.
Okay, good. Thanks so much for joining us.
Our pleasure.
And thanks for watching the 4 o'clock show. We'll see you back here in just 30 minutes for the news at 5.